G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/legal advice video. Now if you love me as much as I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to mosey on over to that old like button and tackle it like Crocodile Dundee. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good legal advice. Now our first post today is by user Tion, titled Public North Carolina High School. Says, my son's hairstyle and colour violates school's social norms. So I was called to school today and was told that my son has been given a warning that his new hairstyle is against school's social norms. I asked for a copy of a document that describes the school's social norms, which they did not provide. They instead said it's a matter of judgment by the school staff. My son has long hair and has recently dyed it electric blue. He likes it this way. They told me that he has a week to change his hairstyle to an appropriate and acceptable hairstyle, or he will be suspended until his hairstyle becomes acceptable. I told them that to me it seems like this is a matter of freedom of expression, and the school needs to be able to abide by the First Amendment. They told me that there is no First Amendment in school, and the freedom of expression of students is only as far as the school staff will allow. I'm not going to tell my son that he can't wear his favourite hairstyle and colour, only to appease to the school administrators, unless they have a legal right in restricting his access to the school and education for his hairstyle. What is the most reasonable course of action for us? First, is this a First Amendment issue? And second, who do I talk to next? The school is probably right. The recent cases you've heard of where schools were successfully sued over dress codes were based on the restriction of racially distinct hairstyles. The obvious problem there being that those policies tended to discriminate against black students. A restriction against dyeing your hair electric blue is unlikely to be deemed discriminatory against any cognizable group, let alone a protected class. With regard to the First Amendment, there is a limitation on that which schools do enjoy. See for instance Tinker vs. Des Moines. The school has the right to curtail speech or other forms of expression if reasonably necessary to achieve legitimate educational goals. If the school is reasonable in finding that the blue hair has some sort of disruptive effect, they are legally permitted to ban such hairstyles. School also finds women's shoulders distracting and sexual. Does that mean they're right? By the way, I agree with you, I'm just making a side note lol. I'm not saying that you're wrong, please do not take it the wrong way. The only flavour of right or wrong we're concerned with is correct in the statement that they made or in the way they summed up the situation. And in regards to this comment, so who determines this and based on what? Shouldn't there be some sort of evidentiary procedure as the basis of these restrictions? There is no actual school policy that says this is banned. I guess they can make up some now, but at this moment there isn't. The school determines it based on their understanding of cause and effect. There is no need for process at this point. If you think they have determined it unreasonably, you can sue, and that's when there is a process whereby a judge can, after evidence and argument, either determine that that is reasonable in furtherance of a legitimate educational goal, or is not reasonably in furtherance of a legitimate educational goal. What we're telling you is that based on extant law and the facts above, you wouldn't win that case. Thank you, I understand now. Should I get this demand in writing from school? So that we know what to expect? I don't want him to pick a new style only to see that it's also not allowed, since there are no actual guidelines and the school is making stuff up as they go along. You could always buy him a few wigs and wig caps, wear different conventional hairstyles in school, being careful never to show the electric blue. He can keep it, wear it after school/home, off campus, and annoy the teachers with tacky convention wigs. Today is Ellen hair, tomorrow, who knows? Another commenter says, the school's authority to control conduct in the classroom is very broad. If your son's hairstyle choices are neither religious nor racial nor cultural in nature, and if there's even the slightest indication that it disrupts the classroom or school environment, the school can likely suspend him until his hair returns to a natural colour. You could litigate this, but the outcome is uncertain. Even if you were to win and have the school's policy overturned on First Amendment grounds, a clearer and more specific dress code that is applied uniformly, or even school uniforms with a list of permissible hairstyles, would likely pass judicial muster. Furthermore, the litigation is likely to be slow and expensive, and while it grinds its way through, your son would still likely be suspended from his school. Faster and less expensive resolutions include deciding that this isn't worth it and helping your son dye his hair back, negotiating with the school's administration or the school district seeking clarification on the dress code, enrolling your son in another school willing to tolerate his hair at your own expense, and homeschooling against the school's curriculum, possibly with the school's support on things like tests and exams. Morally, I think your son's school is in the wrong, but legally, this is a dicey fight to pick. Thank you. I will not litigate or let this go as far as changing school or homeschooling. That's taking it too far. And our next post, Public North Carolina High School says my son's hairstyle and color violates school social norms. Update, found a way around it. I want to thank all of you for the help and advice that you gave us. I realized that this, while stupid, is probably within the rights of the school, but that didn't mean there was nothing we could do. A lot of you brought up the idea of using a wig. Sadly, wigs also were not allowed except for legitimate religious, cultural, or medical reasons with prior approval. However, what did surprise me was that there was 2 girls who were on a green dye for months without a problem. This definitely sounded like a gender discrimination, allowing that dye for girls and not boys. So I went in there to speak with the principal again. I told him that I'm recording the conversation, and after speaking about wigs, told him that they are allowing girls to do that, but not boys. Principal said that this is a matter of judgment because unnatural hair colors doesn't diminish the feminine attributes of women, but unnatural hair colors for men does diminish their masculine attributes. I got it then. That nonsense is all this has been about. They think a long and blue hair on a boy isn't manly enough. I reminded him that this is gender discrimination, and gender is a protected class. He remained silent for more than a minute. I expected him to say that it's fine and they'll backtrack, but I was shocked when he told me that I'm right. They'll reinforce this requirement for girls too. It is best to get rid of these unnatural colors from our school. I hate what I did. The last thing I wanted was to cause trouble for those girls, or start a chain of actions that could have ended up with them being forced to change their favorite hairstyles. They were contacted too and were given the same choice. 2 days later, my son came to me and said he's spoken with the girls and they have a solution. They want to dye their hair a very white silverish color. It's naturally occurring because you get it when you get old, and some people are born with it as well. I know the more mature thing would have been to tell him to end this game, but I was a teenager once as well, and I was even more stubborn than he is now, so I allowed it. The school didn't like it. The 3 of them were called to the principal's office, where they argued their case that their hair color is naturally occurring now. They said it's the same color as one of the teachers who is quite old. Are you going to suspend Mr. X as well over his hair color? The principal laughed at them and backed off. It's been a couple of weeks since then, and there hasn't been any issues. And this new color looks good on my son. Alright, well that was a good resolution to that one. I hope you enjoyed it. Now we're on to our next post by Who Ate Its Ray, titled, Lady Googled husband's side chick's number and showed up at my parents' house. Last month, a woman showed up to my parents' house with her husband in tow, banging on the door at midnight, claiming my mother was sleeping with her husband. I think my parents were half awake and flabbergasted. We all laughed it off as crazy. Today, my phone is blowing up, but the person keeps hanging up. Finally, I call back and she says, I know it's you. Stop calling my husband. Don't make me come to your house again. And it clicks. Oh my god, crazy lady. I try to be friendly. She is clearly distressed and asks how she got my number, and she says she looked it up. Within the hour, she is Facebook messaging my parents, threatening to go to my parents' home again, and then she's texting me photos of a phone bill as her proof. That's when I realized it was my old phone number, like 2014 old. But apparently anyone can Google a phone number, get a name and address, and pop up at your home. Will the police do anything if I call them now, or am I going to have to wait for her to pop up? You can visit your local county courthouse and research the requirements for a no-contact order. If this person shows up to your home again, you can call the police if they refuse to leave. Also, check out your local harassing communication statutes. File police reports. If you want to do more, you may want to have a third-party lawyer send her a cease and desist via official means, and inform her that this is severely misguided and that all future attempts at slander/libel and harassment will be vigorously pursued. I'm sure she will cross the boundary for all of them at some point. She seems off her rocker. These sites often have erroneous information and they make very loose and bizarre associations between people. Sorry this happened to you, I would go to the cops with this. Not a lawyer. Document everything and file a police report if she does anything of the sort again. Honestly, you should file a police report for the first time. Not advice after here. Secondly, maybe just send her a screenshot that you have her phone number. Just show her the screenshot of the other lady with your phone number. Update. She seemed really stuck on my mum's first name. Let's say Jane. So I did some reverse searching of my own. Mostly my name comes up. It took additional digging to find a different name related to that number. Apparently the woman with my old phone number is also a Jane. That crazy lady already had knowledge of? And on this Jane's profile, my mum's full name is listed as an alternate, associated, possible name. Wow. I'm assuming she searched the number, my name came up with a Jane as a relative/associate, and she was looking for a Jane anyway. Thank you all. I didn't post location because I realized too late that I was signed into my normal account. I will make a police report tomorrow and ask if they can just give her a call and tell her to knock it off. She has stopped calling and messaging. My dad thinks it's funny, but my mum is concerned because I have a young sibling. Also doesn't appreciate the trouble this woman could have caused if my dad wasn't so chill. Also, we'll be looking into how to remove my name and number from these websites. It's freaking scary seeing all this information on there. I've seen a couple services that you can pay to do it for you. Thank you for sending me removal info. We'll be reading over the weekend. It's a nice way to end that one, don't you think? Rightio, our next post is by It's Tiny Rick 86, titled, Old Boss is withholding last paychecks until I come in for an exit interview. So last week I just up and left my job. I'm a subcontractor for a small plumbing company in Western Michigan. Essentially, we are subcontracted to do jobs for this company, but they treat us like we are actual employees. We never signed any forms when we were hired in, besides a form telling us if we lost our gas cards to pay for gas in our vans, we would have to pay a fee. That's it. Technically, we are not actual employees for this company, seeing how we don't get insurance, vacation time, or anything like that. This is a shady company that does shady work. They partake in numerous illegal activities that pertain to plumbing laws here in Michigan, and these people would take from your paycheck, if you so much as inconvenience them, or if they had to send you back out to a job site again, they would not pay you and take more money from your paycheck. We would work 80+ hour weeks and still be expected to take no time off, or they would take more money out of your paychecks. This morning, my old boss texted me telling me that I would need to come in and do an exit interview in order to receive my final few paychecks. Otherwise, they are not going to pay me for them at all. This is 3 weeks worth of work that they are going to withhold from me, and I honestly don't know what to do. These are terrible people who I don't want to ever see again. Any help or advice would be greatly appreciated. You don't have to play games for your paycheck. You can file a wage claim with the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. I am not a lawyer. Besides filing a wage claim, I would let the licensing agency know what this company is doing. Did you get a W-2 or 1099? If you are a W-2 employee, file a claim with your state departments of labor. If you are a 1099, you'd have to sue him in court. You might also want to look into whether you were misclassified as a contractor, since that puts a higher tax burden on you, and some employers will try to do that while treating you like an employee. OP should go to the Department of Labor anyway as a first step. Shady companies like this tend to incorrectly, whether on purpose or by mistake, classify people as 1099 rather than W-2. A similar situation to OP has happened to me. A place I was contracting for tried to not pay me. I was venting to a friend of mine who happened to work at DOL, not in any related position, and he told me it sounded like I was misclassified, and told me to make an appointment to talk to someone in the wage claim department. I did just that, and after a quick check of everything, they determined that I was indeed classified incorrectly, and they went to bat for me, and pursued it as if I were a normal W-2 employee. Not only did they collect the owed wages, but a punitive fine on top of that. The state wrote me a check for the missing wages plus fine, then did a full investigation of the company's labor practices. Ultimately, it led to the company shutting down. OP, set up an appointment with your Department of Labor's Wage Claim Division. Worst case, they tell you that they can't help and you'll have to sue them on your own. Best case, they find they do actually have jurisdiction and will handle everything for you. Very helpful information, thank you. I'll be making an appointment tomorrow since the office is closed today. There is a list published by the IRS that goes over the details of who can be considered a contractor and who must be considered an employee. The biggest thing that got them in my case is they controlled our schedule. They told us what time we had to be there in the morning to pick up our routes, it was installing DirecTV, and what days we had to work. I even tried to call out one day due to running a high fever, and was told, "We've already had too many call outs. You have to come in." There were other issues as well, but that one was the most blatant and made it very clear they were in the wrong right out of the gate. Literally in the same boat, friends. I puked 12 times in a customer's home once, in a bucket, and when I told my boss he said, "Tough, go get some cold medication." Another time we had a negative 14-degree day, and my van didn't have any heat in it. When I told him that, he said, "Go buy a blanket." You've given me a lot to look into, I cannot thank you enough. And now, update, Michigan boss won't pay after I left my job. So I would like to thank everyone that gave me advice on how to help. It helped ease my mind greatly. Now on to the details. Following what everyone suggested, I went to LARA, Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, and reported my old place of employment for not paying me around a month worth of checks after I left. I tried one last time to get my money from my old boss. When I asked him why he wouldn't give it to me, he said, and I quote, "You screwed me over, now I'm gonna screw you over." That royally pissed me off. I felt hopeless when I read that, knowing someone intentionally was hurting my personal funds because I left his company. A shame, but that's when I found out I was still a part of their email system. Now, I know this sounds bad, but they kept payroll on the email, and I was looking to see if they were even planning and paying, even though Lara was just about to begin investigating. This is when I heard from the IRS, saying I was misclassified as a subcontractor when I was really supposed to be a W-2 employee. I found my records in the email, and sure enough, I signed a W-2 when I started. Essentially, the investigation ended up concluding, and my old boss has to pay Lara back, along with some hefty fines. His shop is actually set to close in a matter of weeks. Karma is a bitch. Thank you all again. Alrighty-o, that was a nice one. Now we're on to our next one by user Witty Funny Username. Titled, "Woman claiming to own our property gave us a handwritten eviction notice" in Kentucky. To preface this, my dad was gifted the house and property that we currently live on by his mother in 1991. It's right below where her house used to sit. She died in 2006, and a woman and her husband bought her house in 2010 and claimed they bought our property as well. My dad informed her that he had owned the property since 1991 and had proof. Then he took her to court. In court, she did not hire a lawyer and tried to represent herself. The judge told her that she couldn't claim rights to our house because she didn't buy it or own it. Earlier today, she left a handwritten note on our door that said, "I have a buyer for this property and you have 30 days to evict the premises." We're speaking to our lawyer tomorrow, but I am very stressed right now about it and am wondering if she has any chance of being able to evict us. Thank you for any responses. So, Delahal says, "If you've already gone to court and established that she does not own the property, I don't see how she could possibly sell the property that she doesn't own. See what your lawyer says, they're going to be more familiar with your history regarding this neighbor." Thanks. I was young when they first went to court with her, and now I'm super stressed about it. Not a lawyer? Consult with your lawyer. But I think you also need your lawyer to send a cease and desist letter and a no trespassing sign enforced by calling the police every single time these people or their friends, guests, or people they are pretending to sell your property to set foot on your land. You may also want to get a surveyor. I would also make sure that you had a good gate and a good fence and some security cameras, as well as rose bushes by all the windows and motion activated lights everywhere. There is nothing to be overly stressed about. Real property is one of those rare parts of our legal system where paper rules all. Assuming everyone recorded everything with a register of deeds properly, yes, I know, big assumption, the ROD knows the current legal status of every piece of real property. The problem comes into play when surveyors are wrong, transfers upon death are not recorded, or other problems occur, etc. In those circumstances, litigation to establish ownership or quiet title has to occur. It's hard to tell what court proceedings your dad had, but it smells of a quiet title action. This simply establishes that he lawfully owns the property as it is recorded. Talk to the lawyer, but don't sweat it. Real property is pretty hard to steal. This is a hassle and pain in the ass, but it will get resolved. Good luck. In addition to all the great advice listed already, contact the major online real estates such as Trulia and Zillow to see if the property is listed. If it is, report it to the site as fraudulent and document that too. Screen captures, etc. Definitely. It sounds like she's trying to scam buyers as well. Hopefully whatever fraudulent documentation she has won't clear it as a title report. Maybe even go a step further and put a sign in your yard saying, "Buyer beware. If a crazy woman tries to sell you this house, be warned that she does not own it," with a copy of the deed posted as well. And now back to the main post. Edit, I made a few calls this morning to some local offices. It is for sure that we own the home on the land, but there's no document of who owns the property. The lady I spoke to said there was a deed and then just wasn't. So we're going to a deed office today to clear it up. Edit 2, here is the letter. Mrs. My mum's name, I, crazy neighbor, owner of the property, is giving you 30 days to evict the premises. We are in the process of selling the property and already have a buyer. Edit 3, we spoke to some people this morning and apparently it's still very muddy what happened. As far as we can tell, there was a mix-up somewhere between my father receiving the deed from his mother and the crazy neighbor buying the property above us. At this point, it seems the best option is to lawyer up. And now, on to the update. So, a few days ago, I made a post on here asking for some advice relating to a woman trying to say she owns my property and attempting to evict us. We have everything figured out now, so I figured I'd post a small update. Crazy lady has not come back to our house or contacted us in any way. We spoke to the city and county officials and have gotten proof of ownership of our property, including the fact that we paid our fudging property tax today and are beginning to take steps to get a restraining order on the crazy lady. Thanks for everyone's advice and jokes that really helped when I was stressing out. You're pretty good when you're good, Reddit. Alrighty, and our last post for the day, guys, by Eyebrows Shampoo. Titled, Old Homers took the washer and dryer, even though the offer they signed said they would leave it. Pretty self-explanatory, this is in Kansas. So we just moved to a new home yesterday. In the seller's disclosure, the washer and dryer were listed as negotiable, and since they were in pretty nice nick, we went ahead and included them as part of our offer. We went back and forth a few times, but no one brought up the washer and dryer, and eventually our offer was accepted. Yesterday we got to our new house, and they were gone. We messaged our realtor, who pulled up the signed offer and confirmed the washer and dryer were supposed to be included. She asked the listing agent, who said they weren't supposed to be part of the sale, but were accidentally listed as negotiable. No one caught this or said anything, and we were certain we would get them with the house. My realtor is checking with her broker today, but what kind of recourse could we have here? Would this hold up in a small claims court? Is it even worth it to try and get the washer and dryer back, or get a credit from the sellers for a new one? We're just low on cash at this point from the move, and really don't need this right now. I'm not sure if this should go under contracts or real estate, so please let me know if I need to change it. Thanks. And Kitchen Bomber says, it doesn't matter if it wasn't supposed to be included. If they signed a document with those things included, then they were included. It sounds like the realtor screwed up and is hoping to not have to admit it to their clients. Possibly they were supposed to remove those items from a counteroffer, but forgot. So right now they could just be hoping that you will let it slide so they can save face. not end up out of pocket for their mistake, and not lose out on potential referrals. With your signed documents and correspondence showing that they definitely took them, you should be able to win in a small claims court for the appliance value. Not only value for the appliances, but also installation fees. But you're not getting enough for the new appliances. If the washer/dryer was 10 years old, you're getting fair market value for 10-year-old used appliances. I don't know for sure how much that is, but I suspect it's about $200 total, unless they were really high-end. Have to decide whether that's worth going into the court at that point. Yeah, don't overlook that you only get the depreciated value in court if you win. The whole point of fair market value is that it's what the appliances are worth on the market. If what OP wants is a nice used washer and dryer, then OP should buy a nice used washer and dryer, not cheap new ones. And someone else says, this will hold up in small claims plenty fine if the sellers aren't willing to make you whole without it. As he mentioned, if it does go to small claims, you very likely won't be getting the actual items back. Just money based on their value, and if you were given a reasonable offer to that effect, you should probably just take it to save time and effort. Alright, and the OP posted a small update in their post. Update: the listing agent sent us $500 to put towards another set. We just took it and will use it towards a new purchase. Thanks everyone for the input, I'm glad we didn't need to fight over it. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed that episode of r/LegalAdvice today. Tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below. This has been Markee. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love you to subscribe and push us to 100k this year. More videos to come obviously. Markee Reddit videos to come because I want to be the next MK, but hey, I'll see you guys in the next episode and have a good day. Bye!